Angkor Thom, the remarkable capital of the Khmer Empire, was a perfect combination of religious faith and economic necessity. The dense jungles of Angkor hid the secrets of a civilization where the Raj farmers, with the help of their court kings, controlled the hostile surroundings. The kings built magnificent buildings, temples, and tanks. Yet, it saw its doomsday. It declined, degenerated, and the people disappeared into thin air. Even after so many years, the historians have failed to know the place where they have disappeared. In 1860, Henry Mahaut, a French naturalist, has gone to Indochina in search of rare species of birds and insects. He didn't find anything, but found monumental highways, artificial waterways, and magnificently constructed towers. These, he realized, were no ordinary buildings, but were remnants of a splendid civilization. He recorded in his diary, "It is grander than anything left to us by Greece or Rome." Unfortunately, Mahout fell sick. He could not pursue his quest and died of tropical fever. His reports were passed on to others, and all the details arrived at one conclusion, that there occurred a brilliant civilization. The minute details were later on discovered by the French government, who set up an exploration commission. By 1885, they have worked up a chronology of the rulers and developed the outline of description of the civilization that has produced the magnificent city. They could document that Angkor had been constructed by Southeast Asian people called Khmers. They developed military and technology for 500 years, but the question which they could not answer was that how did the civilization decline and people disappear in the 15th century AD? The civilization began with the trade and other contacts between India and Southeast Asia. It took spiritual inspiration from India, and after a few years, modern Kampuchea was formed. It was called Funam or Funan, which meant mountain. The founder of the Funan, according to the Khmer tales, was Kundania, a Brahmin. He came to the shore where a young woman paddled out in her canoe to greet him. She was a Queen Willow Leaf, ruler of the country and daughter of a serpent deity. She was against Kundania, so she seized his ships. But Kundania proved to be more powerful. He shot a magic arrow into the craft, and the queen realized that she was no match for him. So she had made peace with him, and shortly afterwards the two married. And from their union were born the ancestors of Funan rulers and generations of Khmer rulers. The kingdom progressed for 5 centuries, and then around 550 AD, the Funan kingdom was overthrown by the Kambojas. The first great Kambojan leader was Jayavarman II. With him started the brilliant Khmer Empire and royal dynasty. The dynasty flourished for more than 600 years. Jayavarman, meaning protector of victory, was a military genius. He ruled for 48 years and unified the state and kept the state military strong. He set up a new capital on the mountains of Kulin. There he brought an Indian skilled in magic science to exorcise all foreign demons and to establish the protection of his empire by Lord Shiva. And to make his position all powerful, he declared himself as the God King, the incarnation of Shiva. The concept provided the mantle of legitimacy for 30 Khmer kings. It also became the inspiring force behind the feverish building which created the urban complex on and above the plains of Angkor. Jayavarman created a hereditary office of high priest to assist in the task of administration. With him, Jayavarman established a religious hierarchy to supervise every aspect of national life. Jayavarman was followed by his nephew Indravarman I. He ruled for 11 years and strengthened his empire by building barricades and raised water storage lakes. With the facility of storage water, the condition of peasants improved. They could irrigate their land throughout the year. Indravarman's son and successor, Yeshovarman I, also did much for the good of the kingdom. He constructed a funerary temple in the middle of the lake. He also created a stone pyramid and a barrack to the east of the royal city, nearly 5 square miles in size. Thus, the construction work continued from generation to generation, and the empire continued to prosper. The kingdom touched the peak of success in the 12th and 13th century. Yashovarman was followed by Suryavarman, who kept the torch of progress burning. After his death, the Khmer Empire entered a period of decline, primarily because there was no direct heir. The struggle for throne began. Jayavarman V, brother of the dead king who was in exile, came and took the reins of the state into his hands. He gave new light to the kingdom, architecturally and politically. He built temples in memory of his parents, Tupram and Preharat Khan. He also polished and completed the earlier unfinished temples. He dedicated a temple to himself and the Buddha, called the Bayon. The Bayon represented changes in architectural construction compared with earlier temples. This temple is cluttered and its 51 towers make the construction difficult to understand. More unique than unusual in the sculptures with huge smiling faces, which is a representation of Jayavarman V in the aspects of Buddha. He died in 1219, and from 13th century onwards, no Khmer king undertook the construction like that of Jayavarman V. In addition to the laid-back kings, many social and economical factors contributed in weakening the empire. The Chinese commercial envoy and traveler Xiao Ta elaborately described the classes and division of people in Khmer. He noted the existed slavery and not everything was green and pleasant. The gulf between the rich and the poor had widened up, and this perhaps finally paved the way for the disintegration of the Grand Empire. With the weakening process already started in the 13th century, darkness emerged, finally engulfed the whole civilization in the 15th century. The city fell to the Siamese. The end came in the 7th month, and the Siamese returns with much loot and plunder. Siamese returned the next year, but by that time the entire city was deserted. There was no trace that civilization ever flourished in the jungles of Angkor. Where did the people disappear? Why didn't the people with such splendid civilization and culture fight back? These are some of the questions which are still inviting attention of the archaeologists and historians and asking them to widen the research.